guys, I share Racial Legends. Welcome to the video. Sending some love, some positive vibes your way, especially if you need them out there today. Today's gonna be a banger, guys. I'm happy that you took the time to click on this video and chill with me a little bit, talking about some Raid Shadow Legends. I want to talk about underrated champions. I love videos like these. I might make another one because I actually came up with way more than 10 champions, but I wanted to specifically talk about underrated champions. It's subjective, right? I mean, my ratings might not be your ratings, and you might love a champion that I hate and whatever, right? But it gives me an excuse to talk about some of my favorite champions in the game who, you know, at least on today's criteria, which I used hellhades.com, and I chose all champions on this list are rated below a 4 out of 5. So 3s, 2.5s, or 3.5s. Okay. Nothing that's a 4 or higher out of 5 on the Hell Hades tier list. But I could make another tier list about champions who are like 4s or 4.5s that I think are 5s, you know? I'll give you a couple quick examples of what I'm talking about here. White Queen Ancora. I think she's S tier. I think she's one of the most powerful legendary supports in the entire game. I really do. Such a dynamic kit. There's a million reasons to talk about how amazing she is. Another one is Rio Bonespear, right? These are champions that no one would sit here and say suck. Not Shuzen, but Rio. No one would say they're bad, but I think they're better than most people think, I feel like, right? But today's video is not about that. Today's video, like I said, is about champions, legendaries, rares, and epics on the list, but I just kind of took a gander over the old tier list. And I looked for champions that I just like, the first things that I glanced at, and I was like, dude, I disagree. I disagree. These champions are 4s or better. Some 5s in here. All right, so let's start with a rare. Let's start with an old school rare. And I've said it a million times. I mean, I've been saying this since 2019, since we started this channel 5 years ago. But Bellower, man, is a boss. And the reason that Bellower, we're sitting here in 2025 talking about Bellower still, is really because of that blessing, Nature's Bounty. It's a rare blessing that can convert weak versions of debuffs into the big versions of debuffs, right? I mean, it's as simple as that. He has a decreased speed on a 3-turn cooldown, weak version. Nature's Bounty, turn it into a big version, right? We have a decreased attack, weak version, decreased defense, weak version on the same ability. And then he has block active skills. There's no big version of that ability, but he has AoEs on every ability. I just find that Bellower, to me, he's a top 5 rare in the game. And it's not even close. It's not even close, right? In no particular order. We're talking Cold Heart, we're talking Apothecary, Tree Shield Knot, Bellower. I don't know, you can throw in your favorite 5th there, right? There's a lot of rares in contention. But Bellower is just so versatile. He can be damage, he can be control, he's gonna be a debuffer.
I can be anything, and I know everything.
So much in one kit. He really is such a unique champion in this game, even compared to other rarities, especially with, again, the Nature's Bounty blessing. So Bellower, they had it at a 3.5. Man, I love Bellower. I love Bellower. You can't get many rares better than Bellower. You can use them almost everywhere, you know? Okay, let's talk about a legendary. This one's not going to surprise any longtime viewers of the channel here. Lana Farrell. Lana Farrell, man. This dude is really solid. He's a super tanky force affinity ally attacker champion, right? He's a bit different. He's all about, again, support. He's got shields. He's got a lot of shield synergy. He's tanky himself, 23k. You could put him in a shield set or a bolster set if you wanted to, right? He's got destroy max HP in his shield on his A1. Good for some, you know, niche situations like Scarab King or whatever, but it's good in general anyway, right? Just keep him alive. Flicker Barrier is a fairly hard-hitting AoE 3-turn cooldown with a shield on all allies for 3 turns that scales off of his max HP, which is already pretty high. If there are any dead allies, plays a shield on all allies for 3 turns equal to 30% of his max HP instead, and it's protected, okay? Then he's got Finest Hour. It's an ally attack with increased crit damage, right? And then his passive inflicts 20% more damage against targets under shield buffs. So it's a bit situational there, but he's going to be your ally attacker for going against any shield type champion. Listen, ally attack is one of the most powerful moves in this game, and Lana Farrell being, you know, just a kind of a unique option for you out there. I could put Lanicus on the list too. They're both at 3s or 3.5s. I love both these champions, right? A tanky ally attacker who brings shields for days, a lot of support, and a little bit of damage. All right, next up, YST. This one's for you, buddy. Dude, it's Genshin. Genshin!
What do you want?
Yeah, Genshin is better than a 3, right? This dude is one of the more powerful decreased defense champions out there in the game. And he is, we said it before, but for me, he's kind of like the Energizer Bunny. Now, if you have Genshin, you know what I'm talking about, because this dude just keeps going and going and going and going. He's got turn meter fill on all of his moves. Each hit fills his champion's turn meter by 6%. So you get an 18% turn meter fill just on his A1, which, by the way, is a triple hitter. He's got the AoE decreased defense. Each critical hit fills his champion's turn meter by 10%. Of course, on a 3-turn cooldown. It can deal some really nice damage, too. Talking DPS, talking turns for days, talking decreased defense, right? He's your debuffer as well. Really love this dude. So obviously attack 5 enemies. You get 50% turn meter back again on the A2. On the A3, Faded Vengeance. It's a big smack of an ability. Single target, again, a 3-turn cooldown. Great cycle ability in his moves in his kit. Attacks 1 enemy, ignores unkillable and shields. Fills his champion's turn meter by 30% or 60% if the target has 50% less HP after the attack. That's not always. It's going to happen a lot, depending on who you're attacking, right? Because he smacks with his Faded Vengeance. Also, decreases the cooldown of Steel Parting and Faded Vengeance, this ability, by 1 turn if the attack kills an enemy. So now if you're killing somebody, boom, it's down to a 2-turn cooldown. Same thing with the A2. Increases champion's speed by 10, resistance by 50 if the number of champions on this champion's team is equal to or lower than the number of enemies on the enemy's team. So there we go. This guy's all about speed. If you like a Mist Rider Dathi with all his extra turns and turn meter, you'll love a Genshin, right? Genshin is the man. Specifically love him in any wave content or Fire Knight. He's insanely good. He's on some of the best Fire Knight teams in the entire game. All right, Genshin, I made my point. All right, this next one, another one that longtime viewers, you're not going to be surprised by this one. It's Scaramis. Dude, how could it's criminal to not rank this guy a 5, in my opinion. In terms of judging, or at least a 4.5, right? In terms of judging based on other epics out there, I could make an argument, in fact, I will, that he's the strongest epic provoker in the game. You know, maybe like Umbral with her 2-turn provoke potential, even though she locks herself out, she could be in the running too. But Scaramis is built different, man. First of all, he looks amazing, just like it's a chic design here in Scaramis. He's got the effortless superiority. I've talked about this a lot of times here on the channel, but it's an AoE on a 3-turn cooldown, right? So, by the way, is his provoke an AoE on a 3-turn cooldown where he's placing it so no chances of weak hits there, okay? But back to the A2. Decrease the duration of all enemy buffs by 1 turn. Great move to have. Sometimes on buff, there's only 1 turn anyway, right? Also has a 75% chance or 80% chance with the Sniper Mastery of placing a big version of decreased attack for 2 turns. Also fills this champion's turn meter by 10% for each buff that has its duration decreased. That's insane. A lot of times against waves, you're just going to get very close to an extra turn off this move, which pushes down this to a 2-turn cooldown, which pushes down this move to a 2-turn cooldown. Because think about it, if the enemies have, 3 buffs or 2 buffs, which is not that uncommon, you're going to get 20-30% turn meter boost off each enemy, right? Or if an enemy, if a boss has minions, same thing. He just cycles so quick, kind of like Genshin. I think I have a thing for quick cycling of skills. Hold the front.
Hold up.
We're placing that provoke on all enemies for 1 turn. Then we're counterattacking and healing my man Scaramis. Counterattack for 2-turn duration on a 3-turn cooldown with all that turn meter fill. You go to the counterattack with the A1, attack 1 enemy. 100% chance of stealing 15% of the target's turn meter. That's going to happen all the time because he has the counterattack on and the provoke. So he gets attacked by the provoked troops. He counterattacks, boom, steals their turn meter, and then has a 30% chance of placing a stun debuff for 1 turn if the target's turn meter is fully depleted by the skill. Hey, guess what? They just took their turn. They just attacked him because they're provoked. So they're not going to have a turn meter because you just stole what's left of it, and then they get stunned. More control. He's a nice little champion. Can deal some damage, too. This guy's very, very good. Very good. A 3.5, they rank Scaramis. Another 3 or 3.5, I forgot, is Morag. Morag, I love Morag. I really do. She's beautiful. She's really good. She's really unique. She's defense-based. She's fairly tanky, but she's a damage dealer too. But she's also a mini ally attacker. I say mini because there's only 2 allies joining, 2 randoms, but you get an extra turn if the target's killed, right? Ally attack is so powerful in this game anyway. You get the AoE, which deals decent damage, with the big version of Strengthen on all allies. That's 25% damage mitigation. And then you got the 2-time hitter, ignore shields on her A1, which hits decently hard, which is important because of her passive. Counterattacks, with her A1 obviously, when hit while under a Strengthen buff that she brings, that she places. So now she's counterattacking as well. She can put out some serious damage. She can contend with attack-based damage dealers from a tanky little ally attacker, Strengthen extraordinaire. Very, very good champion. I love Morag. She's a very versatile champion. Again, you can use her in so many different situations, so many areas of the game. Next, kind of an old school, but I love this dude, man. He's a Void Lego, but I tried to switch it up with the rarities a little bit. Tormund the Cold! Yeah, come on, man. Tormund's still the king of crowd control. And he's got one of the niftiest kits. A lot going on in his kit, right? We all know the passive. He's freezing or having the chance to freeze whenever they have a turn meter filled or receive a buff, right? So a lot of chances to freeze. He has that revive himself with the freeze as well, so some survivability. He's tanky. His defense base, 1400 on the defense. On his A1 is an AoE with a 25% freeze. If they're under a burn and a freeze, your enemies, all they have to do is get a tick of that burn or try to take a turn, and he auto attacks with his A1. That can really be nasty if you combo it right. And then on his A2, we are removing or stealing buffs depending if they're in a freeze. This is very, very handy. I just used it right now in Faction Wars. It was one of those stupid Faction Wars hard stages. If you haven't got there, you'll get there eventually. It's not going to be fun. Kill every enemy when they're not under a buff. So it's nice to have buff removal options out there in case, you know, you got to kill somebody, got to make sure they don't have a buff. He's got that covered too. Also, Blizzard Rage. His A3 is pretty hard hitting. He's a nice defensive-based nuker if built correctly, if built to be a nuker, I should say. And then he has block buffs. He has a heal reduction if they're under freeze. If not, he's going to provoke an 80% provoke on his A3, so now he's a provoker and a freezer. Decreases the cooldown of another random skill of each ally by 1 turn for every enemy attacked under freeze and burn. So you put him with a burner, and man, he's insane. I love him because he's damage, and he's great control, and he's just a nuisance to deal with. He's a good option, too, if you just don't have the best speed gear on your team in the arena, and you want a viable go-second strategy. Just make sure you run him with some intercept, right? Because he's very susceptible to being sheeped. Wand of Submission is great as well on Tormund, and y'all have one. All right, next up, guys, we got 4 left on the list here. 4 left. 3 are legendaries, 1 is epic. Let's go with this. No one talks about this dude. No one talks about him, and I've always been a big fan. And he's right in front. Oh, there he is. Alsgore Crimson Horn, right? He's the Jetney the Giant companion champion, right? Alsgore was ranked really low, a 3, I think, on the tier list. So is Timid the Fool. I almost went with Timid, 2 kind of companion champions that were not the champions that were easier to get, yeah, you know. But man, Alsgore is really solid. He's not the best legendary in the game, but he's a very solid champion. And no one really talks about this guy at all. He's got a heal on his A1. He has a 60% chance of increasing the duration of 2 random debuffs on the target, which is really nice to have on that A1. On the A2, Crack the Sky. It's an AoE attack on a 3-turn cooldown when booked. 100% chance when booked of removing 2 buffs from all enemies. Removing 2 buffs most of the time is enough, right? Also has a 100% chance of removing all buffs from enemies, even if it lands on a weak hit if Jetney's on the same team. The thing I like, it's a nice little addition. Is the continuous heal on all allies for 2 turns. So now he's a healer. Speaking of heals, look at his A3. Full heal. The old complete heal. Anybody back in MMO RPG days, anybody play like World of Warcraft or EverQuest or whatever, I just think of like the complete heals. Like you had to have, I used to play MMOs, RPGs way back in the day. EverQuest was my jam back in 99 to 2002. And I just remember like all the clerics had to just sit there every raid and just rotate their complete heals on our tank. It makes me think of that. Full heal on an ally.
Fully loaded.
Block damage on all allies for 2 turns. That's 2-turn block damage, 4-turn cooldown. Champions like Helicath get a lot of love. He's got the same move, but with the full heal on there as well, right? Not exactly the same move, but close. And then on the passive, when attacked, has a 50% chance of placing a decreased speed on the attacker for 2 turns. That's great for Iron Twins. He's great for Iron Twins. The entire kit screams Iron Twins, right? But he's good in other areas as well. And of course, he's fairly tanky. I really like Alsgore, just a really nice support champion who can also remove buffs, manipulate the enemy team. He's got complete heals, little heals, decreased speed, good control as well. And again, the debuff extension as well on that A1. He brings a lot to the table. All right, next up, now we're going to get to the bottom of the barrel. These are all 3s or below, right? So this one's probably going to be the most controversial, I would say. The one that people are going to be like, nah, Ash, you're pretty crazy for ranking him that high. Maybe it's the Irish in me, laddies, but Shamrock. I love me some Shamrock, man. Listen, Shamrock is better than most people think he is. He's super fast. His base stats are very good, right? On his A1, he has a 2-time hitter where he has a chance of removing a buff on each hit, but he also has a chance of stealing that buff on each hit independently. So it's a 50% chance of stealing if the buff's removed, or a 75% chance of removing. So a nice A1. I love buff steals on A1s. It's a nice little like addition. It's never going to make a kit, but it's a nice cherry on top. On the A2, well, let's start with the A3, because the A2 is his special move. Uncatchable. He's got a decreased speed on all enemies for 2 turns, decrease their turn meter as well, fills the turn meter of all allies if any enemy's turn meter is below 50%. I don't like the conditionality there, but, I mean, oftentimes at least one enemy in most situations, especially wave content, is going to be below 50% after we're depleting their turn meter anyway. So, nice turn meter fill, turn meter deplete, and a decreased speed. It's a great move, but it's a 4-turn cooldown when booked. We'd love to see this on a 3, but it's still pretty powerful. On the Lucky Charms, though, they redid this ability back, a couple years ago now, a few years ago. But it used to suck. Now it's actually really good, especially with protection gear. He is a viable 9-piece protection champion for your teams because he's bringing 3 buffs on a 3-turn cooldown, right? That's really good. That's 15% extra damage for everybody who has them. But there's a twist to it. And I feel like people read this and the conditionality and stuff, it kind of throws them off from respecting this move as much as it should be. He's got an increased speed, increased defense, a la like a Rock, for example, on our A3. But then he also brings an increased crit rate on those allies for 2 turns. Granted, that's like a 75% chance of landing the increased crit rate, right? So 3 buffs, increased defense, increased speed, fantastic. But then if you need it, if someone's about to die, less than 50% HP at least, we get a revive on death and a continuous heal instead, right? So in most situations, he's going to be just placing the increased defense, increased speed for your team, and the increased crit rate. But in some situations, if you need it, he'll revive on death and he'll continuous heal and be your healer as well. So you put it all together, what do we have here? We have an accuracy all battles 70, which is very useful. We have 5 buffs, just depending, on a 3-turn cooldown on Lucky Charms. We have buff steal and removal on his A1. And then we have a decreased speed with the increased speed in the same kit, a la like an Estrid. He's not as good as Estrid. I'm just saying he has both those move with the turn meters as well. He's a very kind of odd champion, right? Because he brings such a diverse amount of skills here. I would love to see, I think he's good. I think he's a solid champion. I think he's underutilized and disrespected. His reviews are always crap, like 2s, And I can understand why. He doesn't jump out the page at you. I would love to see one more like passive added to his kit, right? Where he's doing like maybe a little bit of buff steal like passively once in a while, kind of like a Nari the Lucky or a Mighty Ukko or something like that. Anyway, that's enough about Shamrock. I like the dude. 2 more left, guys. All right, this dude, Oh, man. This one I talked about quite a bit here on the channel is Gamaran. First of all, Gamaran has one of the coolest designs in the game, in my opinion, right? I mean, check out this dude. He's being impaled by a key. I mean, that's cool. It's not coming back the other end, huh? And he just looks so cool. The weird thing about him is he doesn't have a tongue, draping out of his mouth in this, but he sure does. Oh, I thought he did. I thought he had a tongue coming out of his mouth. Maybe I'm thinking of Elagaeus, who is not making the list. There's the tongue. Best tongue in the game, no? What do you think, ladies? I got a 4% female demo. Let me know.
Oh, you nasty.
All right. Well, I'm getting way off track here, guys. He's fast, and I like him. After the buff, he's nasty. He's not meta. He's not S tier, but he's super cool to use, and he's a threat. I love any champion in this game, whether it's Sun Wukong, whether it's Nell, or whether it's Gamaran, who has a steal all buffs move. Really strong. I think Polara has it too, the new mythical. Attacks all enemies, 100% chance of stealing all buffs from each enemy. After stealing, we're going to spread them to everybody on our damn team. What a strong move. What a strong move. There's no ability quite like this in the game, is there, guys? Steal all buffs, and then you're not selfish about it. You're going to spread them on your team, too. Super strong. Block active skills, by the way, at 50% on each hit on the A1. Great way to neutralize mythical champions. Then on his A3, Dread Invocation, right? Basically, you target someone who's already dead, and poof, they can't be revived, and you do a little bit of damage and stuff, right? Or you can target somebody who's alive and True Fear them, not 1-2 turns, deal some damage based on their max HP, and heal all allies based on their max HP. But the coolest part is the Soul Charge. They buff this ability too, this passive. Revives a random ally, 30% HP, 30% turn meter each time an enemy's killed. Pretty solid. Revives a random ally, 30% HP, 30% turn meter each time a block revive debuff is placed on an enemy, which of course he does with his Dread Invocation, which the books go right to the cooldown. I love it. 3-turn cooldown and only 3 books on his A1 or his A2 as well. Man, Gamaran is such a fun freaking champion. I love that dude. All right, speaking of dudes, last champion on the list is Duden. Ah, yeah. The big fella. I love Duden. Reminds me of Krang from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I feel like there's a brain somewhere in his belly or something. Either way, man, I think he's a lot better than most people think on Duden the Runic. Why do I like him so much? He's got an AoE shield, not bad on his A2, right? Also, I should say, increase the duration of all buffs on all allies by 1 turn. It's a nice move to have. And then he's got the taunt. Taunt is so good, especially on a 3-turn cooldown, which he has for an epic. That's unheard of. 3-turn taunt, also with the strengthen and a counterattack. So what do I love so much about him? I love a taunt. That's solid, right? But I really love the cleanse on the A1. Because he has that counterattack, he has attack one enemy, has a 60% chance of removing a random debuff from all allies. Oof, that's so nice. With that taunt, they have to attack him. With the counterattack, he has to counterattack. And with the counterattack, every single time, there's no cooldown or anything, obviously, on a counterattack, he's going to be cleansing your allies at the same time. Similar to a lot of the champions we talked about today. He's not the best epic in the game. He's not as good of a cleanser as a Doom Priest. He's not as good of a control champion as a, I don't know, who's the best stun on an epic champion or maybe a Cryoed in the blue, AoE freeze, right? He's not a good control like that. But the taunt is good, the shield is good, and the cleanse is good. What he ends up being is a pretty damn unique kind of control-y, tanky cleanser for your team and help keep you alive with the shield. And extend your buffs. There it is, guys. Those are 10 underrated champions. Which am I wrong on? Which am I right on? You let me know in the comments below. Much love, and as always, take care, guys.